Okay, carrying on. Question number 19. In a science class, students saw a copper precipitate uh, appear in a solution of copper 2 sulfate after a piece of zinc was added to the solution. Which of the following chemical equations represents the reaction described above? So let's break it down. They saw a copper precipitate. So precipitate is something that comes out of a reaction. So it's a result of a reaction. So we should definitely see that on the right side of the equation. So it came, so it, we saw precipitate appear in a solution of copper 2 sulfate after a piece of zinc was added. So we started with this copper 2 sulfate, added a piece of zinc. Oops, I was supposed to say SO4 plus the zinc. So we should have CuSO4 and zinc on the left side, CuSO4 and zinc on the left side. And then we had copper precipitate. They didn't tell us what else came out as a byproduct, but that doesn't really matter. Once we get this right, we can see this is our other byproduct of that reaction. So now we have, instead of copper sulfate, we've got zinc has displaced the copper and is now part of that aqueous solution. So the key was just knowing that this is a precipitate, so something that comes out of the reaction, just understanding what we started with and what we ended with, right? Or these are our reactants. This is one of our products. And then the other product, we can see it here in our answer. Okay, next question. Wemyss symbol. What is that? It's a biohazard symbol. So the correct response to how to deal with it safely would be to place it in a biohazardous waste bin for collection. Okay, so make sure you know your symbols, your Wemyss symbols, and what they stand for. Number 21, sulfur dioxide levels in a region. So we've got January and then July again for this 1 year, January and July, January and July. So basically winter and summer, winter and summer, winter and summer. The information in the graph above indicates that sulfur dioxide levels, and if we here, first one, increased in the summers, nope, it decreases in the summers. Decreased throughout 1997. Well, no, because pardon me. So it's decreasing from January 97 down to July. Oh, 1997 goes all the way up till January of 98. So it's not decreasing the whole time. It goes down and then back up. So that's B is not correct. Consistently increased from 97 to 99. That's saying that it would just consistently increased, which that is not the case. So we're left with the correct answer, which is D. We're at their highest it was at the highest in the winter of 1998. And it's always going up in the winter each year. We can see that pattern, but specifically it was the highest during the winter of 98. Okay, next up, chemical name, some common substances, chemical formula of that same chemical, and then the common name. And what do they ask us? Well, which of the substances listed above is classified as an organic substance? Okay, organic must have carbon in it, and it must also have hydrogen in it. It does not have both of those things. It is not considered organic. So there's only one answer, and that's sucrose or table sugar, B. Okay, next up, we have some macromolecules listed, and there we have the molecule, the primary role in the human body, and the possible source of that. So we're talking about carbohydrates, fats or lipids, and protein. Okay, so immediate source of energy comes from an apple. That would be a carbohydrate. So W is carbohydrate. And then a lipid, and the immediate sort of what is the role of it? What is the role of fat in the body? It's its role is energy storage. So there we go. Answer is C. Okay, next one. 2009 citizens of Havenfield were worried that local industry might be polluting the lake water used by the town. A 1-year water study was commissioned to determine if pollution was being discharged into the lake. The results of the study are summarized in the graph below. So what do we have here? Take a look at your graph. Lake pollution is the title of the graph. On the left side column, it says estimated number of organisms in thousands, and the bottom title is macroinvertebrates. So we're looking at these different macroinvertebrates like the aquatic worm, bloodworm, dragonfly, scud, stonefly, mayfly. And also it's categorized those insects as ones that are tolerant to pollution, somewhat tolerant, or sensitive to pollution. Okay. So let's see here. We also see, and it was June of 2013 and June of 2014. So this is looking at 2 different years. It asks us, which of the following statements is best supported by the information presented in the graph above? And before I look at these different options, I like just look at the graph and see what's happening. So I see so from 2013 to 2014, this population went down. Well, that one went up. This one went down. Well, that one went up. And here, these ones both went down significantly. Okay. So A, it says the pollution discharged in the water by industries was beneficial to species survival. Well, I don't think we can conclude that. There is 6 different species, and this one decreased, this one decreased, these ones decreased substantially. While these 2, yes, did increase, I don't think we can say that it was beneficial to species survival on the whole. So that's not correct. The increase in the scud population, this one here, indicates that the lake ecosystem was not affected by pollution. Well, that does not, if we look at that alone, that doesn't indicate that it was not affected, that the lake ecosystem was not affected because, well, in the case of the scud, it was for some reason beneficial, but there was definitely an effect. B is not necessarily saying that whether the effect is good or bad, it's just saying that the lake ecosystem was not affected. And the increase in that population does not tell us that. And besides, all the other data lets us know that that's not true. And D, the decrease in the aquatic worm population supports the conclusion that the water became more polluted. Aquatic worm. The decrease in the aquatic worm population. So the aquatic worm population decreased a little bit. But they're very tolerant to pollution, so that decrease could be for a different reason. So we can't look at that particular decrease and say that was because of pollution, because these worms are known to be quite tolerant to pollution. So their decrease could have been from other changes in the habitat. So the correct answer, C, the decrease in stonefly population supports the conclusion that the water became more polluted and that it's a significant change, and we also know they're sensitive to pollution. So, so that is the best statement that is supported by the information in the graph. 25. Which of the following factors would contribute the most to excess algal growth in a pond? And that's fertilizer use, and particularly nitrogen is one that definitely increases growth of algae. So fertilizers having nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus in them. So fertilizer use is a known contributor to growth of algae. Several organisms from a specific region have been tested to determine the concentration of a biomagnifying toxin in their body tissues. That's when we know that something eats it and then something bigger eats those little guys and gets a bunch of toxin in it. And something bigger eats some of these guys and gets even more toxin, right? And then something even bigger eats bunch of these guys and gets much more toxin in their body. That's the biomagnification process, right? So we have organism 1, 2, 3, and 4, and these different amounts. So they all say 50, but notice they're out of a different amount. So they said 50 parts per million, per trillion, per billion, and per thousand. So if I have 50 parts per thousand, that's quite a lot. 50 out of every 1,000, right? As opposed to 50 parts per trillion, that's 50 over 1. What's a trillion? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a million. Another 3 zeros is a billion. Another 3 zeros is a trillion. So if there's only 50 parts in that out of that many molecules, there's only 50 molecules of that substance. That's very little. But when there's 50 out of every 1,000, that's quite a lot higher in comparison, right? So we're talking about right, if it's 50 parts, the larger this number, the more diluted that is. The smaller this number, the more concentrated it is, right? So we had the lowest toxin concentration is the 50 per trillion. And then the next one, billion is the next largest number. It's not as big as trillion, but it's the next largest out of all of these. So it's also it's the next least concentrated. So 50 out of a billion is still pretty low, but it's more concentrated than if it were out of a trillion. And 50 parts per million, and finally 50 per thousand. That's a high concentration. Okay, details of a study to test the effectiveness of different antacids are shown below. Procedure: Step 1, combine 60 ml of vinegar with 30 ml of antacid. Step 2, after 30 minutes, measure the pH. Step 3, repeat steps 1 and 2 for each antacid. So we're testing 4 different antacids here. And they did it 3 times each. So we had this antacid, this one, and this one. So we combined 60 ml of vinegar with this antacid, then measured the pH. 1, 2, we did it 3 times in a row, just to validate the experiment. So that's what the results were. They were all pretty similar. And then here for this antacid, we had a lower pH. For this one, there was some variation. Hard to say what happened and why there was variation in that experiment. But we can kind of get an average of where that pH would sit. And then this one here, the pH after adding the antacid was here at this level. So the responding variable in the experiment described above is, so responding variable, or also sometimes called the dependent variable because it depends on the thing being manipulated. It's the result. Responding variable is a very good term. It's the one that responds from the thing that's done. And what's the thing that's done? What's different is we try different antacids, right? Antacid M, this one, and this one. That's the manipulated variable, and the result is the pH of the vinegar. Okay, so that we're checking the pH of that vinegar, right? It's resulting in different pHs. Here a higher one, here a slightly lower one, here a very low one. And that's the result. The responding variable is the pH. Okay, next one. Here we have some pHs of a variety of solutions listed. And it asks us, using the information above, which of the following statements is incorrect. So we could verify these one by one. But the one that is the right answer for this one, which is the incorrect answer, says lye is the most basic of all the solutions. Let's find, hang on. Using the information above, which of the following statements is incorrect? Lye is the most basic of all solutions. Well, actually, it is. That's correct. So we're looking for the incorrect solutions. Looks like there's a mistake here. Okay, let's just go through these all then. Must have been another late night. Tomato juice is less basic than vinegar. Where's tomato juice? Here's tomato juice, and here's vinegar. Is tomato juice less basic? No, it's more basic. If it's higher, now I know these are both acids. If you read over here, if anything less than a 7 is considered an acid, but we can still say that it's more basic than vinegar, right? It is higher than vinegars compared to vinegar. So that could be it, because that's an incorrect statement. B, that is a correct statement. Apple juice is less acidic than lemon juice. Apple juice, lemon juice. Apple juice is not less. Apple juice is less acidic than lemon juice. That's not correct, because apple juice is more acidic. Sorry, wait, hang on. Pardon me, I'm getting confused now. I think it threw me off seeing that I had the wrong answer here. Apple juice is less acidic. Yes, that's correct. It's not as acidic as lemon juice. Okay, so that's also a true statement. Human blood is more acidic than ammonia. Human blood, and where's ammonia? Over here. Human blood is more acidic. Yes, it's lower. That's also correct. So the right answer for this one should be A and not B. Okay, so that's another one I'm going to have to correct in the answer key. I'll just verify again. Tomato juice is less basic than vinegar. No, it's higher up than vinegar on the pH scale, so it's more basic. So that one should be A. Okay, good thing that we're reviewing this. Next question, 28. Based on the graph above, what volume of solution X was needed to neutralize solution Y? So remember, if we have something acidic and we neutralize it, we want to get it to a 7 pH. So if we read over here, we can see this is the point where the volume of solution added, right? If we start with 0 and we go testing different amounts of solution until we get to 60 mils, we want to see what quantity of that solution got us to that 7 pH. That's when it's neutralized. So it should be around 20, maybe a little less than 25, and there it is, 24. Okay, question 29. Which of the following questions would be of greatest significance to a water bird ecologist in discussing the substances that can be safely released into wetland environments? So the correct answer for this one is the LD50. Okay, we want to know if a substance is toxic or not, or and how toxic it might be. That's what the LD50 tells us. Now, an interesting answer too is also this one: how porous the soils in the dumping area. That does matter, because if we do have a substance we don't release, we don't want it to have a porous soil, because if it does, it means that that can go through, right, when there's rain, that can go through and get into the water table. If that toxin can get into the water table, it can get into the water systems. So that could be a problem, but it's more important to know how toxic it is, because if we know that it's not a harmful substance, even if the soil is porous, we're still going to be okay. However, having both a non-toxic substance and non-porous soil conditions would be the best. Okay, next question. We have fluorescent lights containing PCB ballast. So PCB is a known toxin that they do not use anymore. But this is showing, what are we seeing? We're seeing it's getting into landfill sites, into storage sites, into the air, from the storage sites into the air, from the air into the soil, probably through like precipitation, kind of like acid rain. Landfill sites, water right, gets into the water because we rains, and if this, again, talking about whether the conditions are correct to prevent that from getting into the water, can get into the water, into people, from the water into plankton, into zooplankton, into fish, and then into people again. So there's a bunch of stuff happening here. Same soil into plants, plants into animals, animals into humans. We also eat plants, so directly the air also we breathe it. So there's all these different pathways leading to causing pollution in all kinds of places, and especially in humans who are consuming everything. So we're going to get the worst of that toxin. Which of the following research questions best reflects the information shown above? So it's just saying, what is this graph about? How PCBs form in the environment. They're talking about PCBs. They don't tell us how they form. What impact they have on water quality. They do show it getting into the water, but it's not really detailed about how it's impacting the water. What are the various ways that PCBs are stored? It shows that they do become stored, but that we don't see about the different details about that, and how PCBs move through an ecosystem. That's quite obviously what this is about, showing the different pathways. Okay, so there we go. Okay, next up, we've seen this question in class. Which of the following changes to the cell shown above would result in voltage being produced? So we know we need two different metals, and we need an electrolyte solution. And in this case, we have two metals that are exactly the same, so we're not going to get any voltage like that. So the best thing we can do to get a voltage being produced is to change one of the electrodes to a different element. So zinc is a good one. Copper and zinc are a good combination. So there we go. And I'm going to stop this video here, upload it, take a pause,